poetry. Before he approaches the stage, I'd like you to all know that he does have a table set up in the back where there's a book which he edited, Poets for Palestine. It's a great collection of poems and some spoken word about the Palestinian cause written by authors all over the world, the United States, all different ages, young and old. And without any further ado, I'd like to introduce Rami Kanazi.
How's everyone doing? How many Palestinians do we have in the audience? We got a lot. Okay, I'm Palestinian, and I want to actually thank NJIT for having me out tonight. I've done a lot of shows in New Jersey, and it's really nice being able to connect with the youth and especially perform poetry. I'm going to do like 5 or 6 quick pieces. I have like basically angry, angrier, and angriest, and I blame that on being Palestinian. Very non-stereotypical. So, but the first poem we're going to do is about Iraq, and it's pretty self-explanatory. It goes out to an Arab American I know, and I'm not that my mom brought me up wrong, but I have some poems that I couldn't do because of some language issues. So this is called Untitled because I'm original. Actually, forget it. I'm going to start off with a poem called Coexistence. Anybody, this is pretty self-explanatory. I mean coexistence in mainstream sense of the term and the CNN style terms where it's like, hey, if the Palestinians just come to the table and give up 101 of their demands, maybe they can get 3% of historic Palestine. So this is called Coexistence. I don't want to coexist. Not like good guys and bad guys and true lies and propaganda. Put on blackface as cab drivers or deli owners in your racist comedies. Not bomb your Dunkin' Donuts with my kafia, fist pound Fox News, or let you steal my food and call it Israeli salad. I won't mess with a Zohan, or let them turn the rocks of Palestinian children into balloon animals. While Israeli soldiers snipe our children's heads, shoulders, knees, and stomachs, Hollywood snipes ears of young ones with lovable tales of blue and white heroes. I'm not looking for your approval. Not a token role or job on my knees scrubbing toilets in Israel's Congress. I'd rather fight with blacks and Latinos against oppression than concede to a mainstream plantation that sees me as other unless I'm checking a college application. I don't believe in the tooth fairy or 2,000 claims of homes you supposedly deserve when people resurrected and walked on water. I'll exist in a world that fights against racism like Martin and Malcolm. Bleeds ghetto tales of Stephen Biko as a song that never dies no matter what apartheid makes of our bodies. Feeds mouths in Belfast streets and resurrects Bobby Sands' message so that we'll never be hungry again. And whether you know it or not, I'm the best solution you have. One man asking for one vote, telling you to look at the sea, and I'll never drive you into it. I'll never return the favor. I'm not outstretching an olive branch and a rifle. I'm extending reality, because being surrounded by so-called enemies on your borders is easier than in your towns and election centers. We may not be brothers, but this neighborhood has made us cousins. I don't want to coexist. I want to exist as a human being, and justice will take care of the rest. That was like the love poem, so we're a little more political now. So my name's Rami Kanazi. I'm the editor of Poets for Palestine in the back. My grandparents are refugees from 1948. I grew up in Western Massachusetts, which is a lot like Newark, New Jersey, except lots of white people. So I grew up in a very different environment where I felt like I had to constantly defend what it meant to be Palestinian, what it meant to be Arab, especially in a post-9/11 world, moving to New York City 4 months before 9/11. It's one of the reasons why I became a poet. And the next poem we're going to do is it's an untitled poem about Iraq. I'm not Iraqi. Do we have any Iraqis in the audience? Yeah. All right, we got one. So this poem goes out to an Arab American I know. He sucks, so I hope this isn't like nobody in the audience. But it's hard for me to ever do except without talking about Iraq, the people of Afghanistan, the people of Pakistan. I know a lot of people raised their hands at the end there. So this is called Untitled. Iraq has a $79 billion surplus. We've spent more than $1 trillion on this war. More than 4,000 of our troops have died. God knows how many are coming back limbless. Others with post-traumatic stress disorder. This is not making us safer. This is not within our interests. This is what he says to me. An Arab American. An American Arab, an American who happens to be Arab. I look back at him. I'm not some CNN producer, and 3 Iraqis have died since our conversation started. I'm not an American. I'm a human being. I don't write poems about Kevlar vests, USO tours, and don't get me wrong, I support the troops. The ones in Iraq, Palestine, Afghanistan, Northern Ireland, South Africa, and Birmingham, and not all their bullets fit in guns. They've written poetry, music, and literature an oppressor could never dream of. I do. I feel bad that I can't afford my second iPhone, but I've yet to hear you utter that more than 1 million Iraqis have been slaughtered in this war, that their $79 billion surplus can't get them electricity or stability, that the surge has failed, Baghdad has been cleansed of Sunnis, and more than 5 million have been made refugees. I'm sorry that you can't afford your cross-country road trip because gas costs too much money, and the US dollar can't get you past Go and Monopoly. We wrap ourselves around 50 stars and lapel pins while civilians in occupied nations die because of our policy. And if that makes me anti-American, hood me, rip me from my home, and waterboard me in a Guantanamo prison, I'm not looking for the American dream or your silly notion of exceptionalism. You think because you love a country, it excuses jingoism. Your so-called rights and interests matter more than the countless sets of others. And you know what? I'm not going to call you a sellout or Arab Uncle Tom. I'm going to call you what you are, a crappy human being, one that chides the rights, invokes civil movements, all while taking a step backwards. Yes. Iraq has cost us $1 trillion, but there's no currency to replace your thirst for hegemony. I'm not an American. I'm a human being. And if that's so hard for you to stomach, maybe you should grab a plane ticket with your frequent flyer miles and move the heck out of my country. So, some people say I'm a political poet. I like to refer to myself as a humanist. I can't explain, I mean, there's a lot of Muslim Americans, Arab Americans in the audience. I grew up in Western Massachusetts. And what's so striking is that the crazy guy from Kentucky that waves a Confederate flag that's like, all you Arab and Muslims need to get the heck out of here. This is as much your country as it is anybody else's. These are as much your communities as anybody else's. And a lot of times, what's so beautiful to see this MSA event and different cultural events going on is that Arabs and Muslims in the US are reconnecting and taking back their voices. I know a lot of people felt shut down and shut up after 9/11. And I kind of took the opposite approach and basically ran right at its head to hopefully dispel some of the mischaracterizations. The next poem I'm going to do a couple more old pieces and then end with a new piece. So this is called The Poem for Gaza. I never knew death until I saw the bombing of a refugee camp. Craters filled with disfigured elbows and splattered torsos, but no sign of a face, the only impression of fading scream. I never understood pain until a 7-year-old girl clutched my hand, stared up at me with soft brown eyes waiting for answers, and I didn't have any. I had dry pens in my back pocket that couldn't fill pages of understanding or resolution. In her other hand, she held the key to her grandmother's house, but I couldn't unlock the cell that caged her older brothers. They said we slingshot dreams so the other side will feel our father's presence. A craftsman built homes in areas where no one was building, and when he fell, he was silent. A .50 caliber bullet tore through his neck, shredding his vocal cords, too close to the wall. His hammer must have been a weapon. He must have been a weapon. And coaching on settlement hills and demographics, so his daughter studies mathematics. 7 explosions times 8 bodies equals 4 congressional resolutions. 7 Apache helicopters times 8 Palestinian villages equals silence in a second Nakba. Our birth rate minus 3rd birth rate equals 1 seat and 400 villages re-erected. 1 state plus 2 peoples, and she can't stop crying. Never knew revolution or the proper equation. Tears at the pages with her fingertips, searching for answers but only has teachers. Looks to the sky and sees stars of David demolishing squalor with hellfire missiles. She thinks back words and memories of his last hug before he turned and fell. Now she pumps dirty water from wells while settlements divide and conquer. And her father's killer sits beachfront with European vernacular. She thinks backwards while they think backwards of obscene notions and indigenous confusion. This is our land, she said. She's 7 years old, this is our land, she said. And she doesn't need history books or schoolroom teachers. She has these walls, this sky, her refugee camp. She doesn't know the proper equation, but she sees my dry pens, no longer waiting for my answers, just holding her grandmother's key, searching for ink.